Hello, my friends. I'm Chris Biffle, Coach B, wearing my Coach B hat because it's a special broadcast tonight. We're going to talk about the agreement bridge, which is our ultimate tool for helping challenging kids be less challenging, and we have a surprise announcement tonight, my friends. That was the 3D effect. And everyone is sitting on the edge of their seat. Welcome to Kate Boski, Deb Weigel, Nancy Stoltenberg, Arlie, Southern Teachers, and others. This is my favorite group, my favorite class. Here we go. Let's jump right into it. Teaching Challenging Kids 102, Lesson 6, Level 6, The Agreement Bridge. I'm Chris Biffle, and you're watching WholeBrainTeaching.com. And here, my friends, is the famous 3D mix. Look at that. Our two friends, Biffy and Bobby Bluebird. Let's hear what they have to say. When if someone wants a copy of these slides or professional development credit, Coach? Biffy, that is an excellent question. I know, Coach. You have me ask it every week, and I'm starting to get it down. Well, Biffy, we'll give you some more advanced tasks as we move forward. I hope so, Coach. What does your brother, Bobby Bluebird, have to say? Hi, Coach. Good to see you. Good to see you, Bobby. Easy breezy. Details are at the end of the program. That's right, Bobby. End of the program, you can get a copy of these slides for professional development credit. This is program 527. And now, my friends, here comes the beginning of the surprise. The surprise is going to be like a multi-layer chocolate cake. Better and better and better. But here's the beginning of the surprise. You are sitting down, aren't you? I do hope so. Now, here is our WBT certification question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the agreement bridge? That's what I want you to think about tonight. If there are significant weaknesses, how can the program be improved? What you're going to do is you're going to post your answer on the forum at WholeBrainTeaching.com under the topic WBT Certification Webcast, the Agreement Bridge. Satisfactory answers will receive 50, yes, I said 50 certification points, 250 words minimum. But if you're really wailing on that answer, 75 or more certification points are possible for outstanding answers. And check this out, my friends. Check it out closely. You will receive a 50-point certification medallion electronically. Can you dig the medallion? Let's go in for a close-up, my friends. Can you really dig the medallions? Check it out. Here are the medallions. Oh, yes, my friends. I'm going to give you a close-up of these incredible electronic medallions. Collect the whole set. So what I'm saying to you is, write a great answer to that question that helps people understand the agreement bridge. I'll give you a 50-point medallion, and I might even throw in an instant bonus of 25 more points. A double medallion night. Ho, 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 ho. How do you like a double medallion night? Now you're asking yourself, how many points do I need to get to be a certified WBT instructor? That's not the question you should be asking, my friends. I'm taking the hat off. The question you should be asking is, how many points do you need to become a WBT certified international presenter? Shoot for the moon. Oh, there'll be more details later. But you get the general idea. What we're doing is we're showing a webcast, and if you want to move towards certification, then answer that question on the forum. I'll show you where to answer it before the show is over. I'll read your answer. Me, Coach B, with my hat on, will read your answer, and I'll give you the points right then, and I'll slip you a certification medallion worth either 50 points or 2 medallions. Dream the impossible dream. Maybe you'll get 3 medallions. Be the first teacher on your grade level team to collect the whole set of medallions. Are there other medallions? Oh, isn't that a good question? What could we earn certification points or medallions for? Oh, excellent question. Wait till you see the answer. Everybody, thank you so much. Kate Boski, yes, everybody's digging it. Here's the deal, my friends. You are the first group of whole brain teaching instructors. Deb Weigel and I talked about this about 2 weeks ago. But you are the first group to get a shot at becoming WBT certified. Every week, we're going to have a webcast. Every week, we have a certification question. This little Tuesday night class will move forward together. Whoa! And I'll tell you what, I'm taking off the hat again. When you achieve WBT certification, and I'll tell you more about it in a while. When you achieve WBT certification, you not only achieve WBT certification as an instructor, you will get a personalized letter of recommendation attesting to your whole brain teaching skills, and you can use that letter if you ever want another job or to really impress the crustier members of your faculty. But my friends, I'm not done. It gets better. When you achieve WBT certification, which no one has achieved yet, I will assign you a number. You'll be WBT certified 1 or WBT certified 7. So that when you're an old granny or grandpa and you're at the national convention in the year 2050 and these newbies come up to you, you say, my friend, approach with caution because you're talking to number 7 of the all-time WBT certified teachers. How excited are you, my friends, to get a number along with your certification? How excited are you to climb the ladder? WBT certified, WBT mentored. Oh, I almost said too much. Yes, Daisy D. Beyond, Southern teacher. Yes, Kate Boski, Kay Reed. Yes, all right. So now we've got the picture. I knew this was going to happen with this special group. This is a special group, you know. Here we go. Let's talk about the agreement bridge. We'll get back to certification. But remember the question that you're going to be thinking about. The question is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this program? And if weakness exists, how can the program be improved? We want you to think about that and answer it, because this is not just a jive question. This is a question that's going to help teachers across the world when they want to understand the agreement bridge. You're going to be the in-trenches experts. Yes, my friends. You can tell why I'm wearing the hat today. Special excitement. Here we are. Level 6. The agreement bridge. Notice where it is. It's right there at the bottom. This is what we do for the toughest of the tough kids. How do you tell if you got a tough of the tough kids? You don't tell the first week when they're throwing themselves under the desk and screaming and crying. No, that's not the test. Are they still throwing themselves under the desk in the 35th week? You've tried all these other things. Yes, you've seen some modifications of behavior. But this is for our most troubling kids who really need some special help. Let's look. Here are the levels. We're at the agreement bridge. And Biffy Bluebird says, "Remember, it's a long year." You didn't see my lips move now, did you? No, you didn't. All right, here's our dear friend, Mrs. Linenthal. "Aye, Coach." "Mrs. Linenthal, how's that cold?" "Oh, it's much better this week, Coach. I had such a harsh, raspy voice last week." "Ms. Linenthal, I can't hardly believe that." "Well, it's true, Coach, but here's my question. Pay attention, you little whippersnapper. What should I do if after levels 1 to 5 on the scoreboard, I still have students who I can't reach?" And Biffy Bluebird says, "Then it's time for the agreement bridge." It is time. Well, what is the agreement bridge? "What is the agreement bridge?" says Biffy Bluebird. Bobby says, "Sample problems include disruptive behavior, drug use, gang activity, lagging social skills, consistent insubordination, no homework, any chronic problem." There's the key word, isn't it, Biffy? "Yes, Coach, chronic." That's the problem. So you've got a chronic, serious problem with this child. You've tried a lot of different stuff. You're so happy you come specially equipped with a big back pocket, and you've got the agreement bridge right there. Let's look at it. Deb Weigel, have you ever tried the agreement bridge down there in Yuma, Arizona? Kate Boski, back on the East Coast. Kate, do you have any kids who have such serious chronic problems you need like an ultimate teaching strategy for them? Nancy, could you have tried the agreement bridge with some of your more rambunctious second graders? Notice that it's going to work K through 14. Thank you, Deb. Here's the situation. Pay attention, my friends. You're going to sit down at a table with the kid. You on one side, the child on the other. In between you is a ruler, a yardstick, and you've got a marker, and your kid has a marker. There's also a piece of paper called the agreement bridge. That's how the game is set up. Let's look at that. Let's look at that. So you're on one side, the child is on the other. This is a child where you need to sit down with them. This is not an on-the-fly problem. You've got to make time for this child. Why? Because everything where you try it on-the-fly stuff didn't work. So you make time. You sit at a table. You're on one side, the child's at the other. There's a ruler or a yardstick between you. The ruler or the yardstick stands for the distance between you. You've got your marker standing up on your side. The child has his marker standing up on his side. The marker represents you. You with me? Now there's also a piece of paper there. I'll show you the piece of paper, which is the agreement bridge. Let's look at the piece of paper. Now, Biffy, you're saying all kinds of things there. How is the game played? Let's look at the game board. And my friends, you can download this game at wholebrainteaching.com. So there are 6 squares. There's the hello square, the problem square, the swap square, the smart square, the foolish square, and the changes square. I'm going to spend a little time on these squares, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. If you or the child choose the hello square for the first part of the game, then you exchange greetings. You talk about anything except the problem that divides you. You see, my friends, the first thing you might need to do with this kid is get to know her, get to know him. So, if you start with a hello, you just talk about it. The child will be stunned to learn that you're a human being, that you've got kids, that you've got an intense passion for UCLA basketball. Become a human being. Take off the teaching hat. Get to know the child. Now, the next step is, and these steps actually can go in any order. I say the next step is just the next one I'm going to talk about. The two of you then talk about the problem. You try to define the problem from your point of view. The child tries to define the problem from her point of view. Go back and forth. Notice there's no scolding here. You say, I think the problem is, let's role play this. You say, the problem is, I'm not, angry, look at my face, but you don't do any homework. And the child says, well, I think the problem is you give too much homework. Just get in, or my parents have the TV blasting all the time, and my sister has her baby there, and I want to do the homework, but I can't. Just talk about the problem. All right. You may think it's one problem. The child may think it's another. Good. You're talking. You're not finger waggling. Let's look at the screen again. Then another step could be you describe the problem from the kid's point of view, and the kid describes the problem from your point of view. Let's put on different hats. You see that? Then talk about what are the smart choices, what are the foolish choices you could make. Talk about the smart choices. Yeah. You'd say, I think a smart choice that we could make in regard to this problem is perhaps I should write these things down and give you someone who could help you, perhaps even over the phone. And the child might say, well, a smart choice would be maybe not give me so much homework or call my mom. Then talk about the foolish choices. You can say, well, a foolish choice on my part would be to get angry at you, give you more homework. That'd make it worse. Maybe a child's going to agree on what the foolish choice is. And then finally you can discuss what each of you would be willing to change. That's the key point. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. If you've got a maximally challenging child, I'm putting the hat back on just so I can take it off later. If you have a maximally challenging child, it isn't only the child that needs to make some changes. You need to make some changes. In fact, you're making a change just by doing the agreement bridge. But if the child sees that this is a shared problem in which each person has to make adjustments, that's called honest heart-to-heart talking. Different than the scolding you've been trying all year, which never worked. So what you're aiming for is to eventually come up with a contract in which the child and you agree about what each person should do and when they should do it. Now, let's look at the next screen. Here we are. Here's the game part. When are the markers moved? Let's enlarge this screen, my friends. Let's get Ms. Linenthal back here. When are the markers moved? You move the markers closer together, and that means the players have reduced the distance between them. Marker movement is usually initiated by the teacher. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Here you and the kid are. Let's face it, you're separated. There's the problem. You talk about it a little bit. You say, you know what, Jamie? I'm feeling like I'm getting a little bit of understanding about your point of view here. I want to move the marker closer. If you think we're getting a little bit closer together, you move your marker. If you don't, that's all right. So you use the markers as surrogate people. And as the markers get closer and closer together, you're dramatizing the coming to of a consensus. It can be a slow process. This is a game that can take weeks and weeks. But with the marker moved, you've introduced that real fun game element. You've removed the tension from the situation, which is what you should do, and you've put it into an entertaining move your marker across the yardstick thing, with each of you taking turns talking about the different topics on the agreement bridge. And you're right, Deb Weigel. The markers really help the child to understand the situation. Yes, we're apart. They understand two features of the situation: the apartness and the potential for moving togetherness. And how do we move together? By talking, by getting to know each other, by discussing the problem, by swapping points of view, by talking about smart and foolish choices. That moves our markers together, even if we don't agree. We're in a conciliatory atmosphere, working together to think this thing through. Now, let's look again at the goal of the game. The goal of the game is here. The goal is for players to sign an agreement contract describing specific changes in behavior by both players. A date is set, often the next day, for reevaluation of the contract. So, here's my point. You might have to spend many days just on the hello square. Let's look at that. Let's look at the game board again. Here's the hello square. You might have to spend a lot of time just getting to know the kid. Maybe you decide, you know what? You, my friend Jamie, you pick the next square. Or Jamie might say, I don't know. Then teacher, you pick the next square. You say, well, I'll tell you what. I think we kind of know what the problem is. I'll try to describe it from your point of view. You describe it from my point of view. This gives us a context for a multi-level discussion. What you're aiming for is eventually to get to this contract. And here's a copy of it. You can download the whole thing at wholebrainteaching.com. And Nancy, you're right, it's positive attention. But here's the deal. Let's talk about effective and ineffective agreements. Here's some effective agreements. We will meet tomorrow at 3:15 to play another round of the agreement bridge. Very concrete. And you both sign it. Mr. Biffle will send Juan 2 text messages to see how he's doing before Wednesday at noon. All right, that's what I've got to do. Juan will keep his appointment with his drug abuse counselor on Thursday at 4 p.m. Mr. Biffle will give Joey an extra day to complete his math assignment. Joey will not go to Mike's house today after school. Mary will not call or text her former boyfriend Louie before the next meeting on Friday at noon. Pay attention. You can't have a contract based upon nebulous abstractions. I'm taking the hat off. I'm taking the glasses off. No more nebulous abstractions like be good. What does that mean? Use excellent manners. Be responsible. Take responsibility. Own your behavior. What does that mean? The child is troubled. They need some concrete help, and you need a way to see what's happening. Don't go to Mike's after school tomorrow. Not don't go to Mike's ever. Don't go to Mike's after school tomorrow. We'll be playing the agreement bridge. Make it simple. Make it concrete. Younger the kid is, the simpler the agreement should be. But it has to be for both of you. There's got to be some movement towards the other party. let's look at some wacky agreements. Here's some wacky agreements. Now, before I go to the wacky agreements, my friend, remember you're thinking about the certification question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the agreement bridge? If there are weaknesses, how can the program be improved? That's what you're focusing on, which is what we should be having you focus on. If I'm your teacher and this is what I'm teaching you, I need to get your response back to see how I'm doing and to see how you're doing. And your responses, because they're going to be public, are going to help the whole nation of teachers with highly challenging kids. And the webcasts are there 24/7. If someone else wants to go look at the webcast and do a certification question, we'll let them. Oh, yeah. All right, let's look at the screen. Here's a crummy agreement. Joey will stop using drugs. My friends, look, college teacher for 40 years. For years and years and years, I put this into my syllabus and handed it out to 200 strangers. If you have a problem and no one will help you, come to me, I will help you. I put that in my syllabus for years. So, at a ghetto community college, at a middle-class community college, the two places I taught, you know what kind of problems kids brought to my office. Drug abuse, gang activity, alcoholism, shattered families. I had a kid who was an accessory to murder. I had to visit a kid in the mental hospital where they'd been committed. Any problems of America's youth come through the door of a community college teacher. So that's why I mention these really tough things like drugs. Maybe you're a kindergarten teacher and you don't have the drug thing, but whatever is maximally challenging for kindergarten, be sure the agreement is sensible. Now, better agreement would be Mr. Biffle and Joey tomorrow at 3 p.m. will see Mr. Tompkins, the drug counselor. Write it down. Crummy agreement. Mary will work harder on her math assignments. That's a crummy agreement. What does work harder mean? What's the behavior involved with work harder? Better. Mary will take Mr. Biffle's note to Mrs. Toller, the math tutor. Crummy agreement. Tim will stay away from his old friends. You know, listen, we say this kind of stuff in conversation all the time. You know, Tim, you really need to stay away from your old friends. And Tim says, yeah, I do. I really do. That is a nebulous abstraction, and it almost never works, but we keep talking that way. Let's make it concrete. Tim will go to the weight room after school tomorrow and not go to Mike's house. That's the behavior involved in staying away from old friends. Mary will not have anything to do with Teresa. That's a bad one. Mary will keep a diary entry of each conversation with Teresa. And if she doesn't have a conversation, no diary entries. Now, check it out. Important point. The time span is flexible. Each session is a one-on-one counseling encounter. The session should be private and initially 15 minutes or up to an hour, whatever time you and the child have. Follow-up sessions can be quite brief. Check to see if the contract needs to be updated or renegotiated. Students with chronic problems may not reach the contract stage until many rounds of the agreement bridge have been played. Now, if you've been watching our webcast, if you're involved in whole brain teaching, you know we're big on these instant fixes. And we've got 30 to 35 challenging kids, each one sometimes on a different planet. So we need some quick things that we can do, and there's lots of quick things, but we also need something in our hip pocket for ongoing structured contact with a child when other stuff is not working. So this may take weeks, but at least it gives you the road to follow. This is what I know teachers are feeling when they have challenging kids. I don't know what to do next with him. I've tried everything with her. You know what? The agreement bridge, bizarre metaphor, is infinitely flexible, infinitely extensible. You need never run out of things to do on the agreement bridge, new contracts to make, renegotiate the contracts, play the game again. As you play the game again, you get to know each other better and better, and maybe it doesn't take so long each time to move those markers together. If you can move the markers together, my friends, a few times in a row, let's face it, you got the problem as solved as it's going to be for this child. The problem has been reduced to ongoing rational evaluation between two individuals. You'll become a better person for it, and so will your kid. I'd love to have some questions here. Deb Weigel, Nancy, Kate Boski, they'll help you out. Now, let's look here. What are the advantages of the agreement bridge? It's a non-traditional counseling session. There's no scolding. The roles of teacher and student are replaced by two game players. The teacher acknowledges that the problem belongs to both players. Now, my friends, I'm going to be honest with you. 95 to 99% of your problems will be handled by all the previous techniques. Bullseye game is usually teacher's last resort. We don't have a lot of instructors who've needed to go to the agreement bridge. So now I'm thinking, as you say, could you use it with two kids? Try it. If the two kids are very close. Or, you know what? You could have the two kids on opposite sides of the table, and you're the referee, and you moderate and monitor the discussion. Don't even let it get to the problem point for a long time. Just do the hello stage. Let's see if we can move those markers together. Yes, excellent question. Now, it's flexible, could be short or long term. Contracts can be easily reevaluated for effectiveness. The emphasis is on collaboration. That's a very popular modern word. Not confrontation. It builds reasoning skills in both your kids. So, summary. What are the key ideas here? You're going to maintain a friendly atmosphere. Revisit any square as often as necessary. Spend considerable time on the hello square. Don't expect changes from your student unless you'll make changes yourself. The problem is mutual. Keep agreements brief and easy to evaluate. So here's what I do. Now I'm thinking off the top of my head. Got to put my cat back here a little bit. Let's say I had two kids that I wanted to get involved with Agreement Bridge. I'd play the game first with the kid I thought would be most likely that I could make some progress with. I play the game with that kid. The kid begins to get some understanding of it. Then I play the game with the two kids, or I play the kid, me and a kid, me and the other kid. Then, oh, would you guys like to do this game together? I got to use my teacher's intuition. That's a phrase I keep coming back to. Use your teacher's intuition. Maybe I play with the kid who is one up on the other kid. He's the natural leader. I can't set his leadership temperament aside. I'll play with him. He feels like I'm getting the special attention. And then I play with both kids at the same time. You could use it in a peer mentoring situation even, with two kids and a peer mentor as the referee. Tons and tons of possibilities. And you know what, my friends? I'm taking the glasses off. I'm taking the hat off. You got a kid at home, yeah, who's living with you, close relationship to you, having some problems there, mom or dad? What do you think about trying the Agreement Bridge at home? That's the double 3D effect. Tell me about that one. Anybody out there going to try that? And you know what? When you write your certification answer, let's include some information like that. Deb, I think if you make it simple, you can even make it work with kinders. Just do the hello, talk about smart or foolish choices. We give kinders some instruction. All we're doing here is writing it down with them. And if they break the agreement, then you come back and you renegotiate the contract. Contracts get broken all the time, and they get renegotiated, reevaluated. Now, here we are at the bottom of the ladder, the agreement bridge. But here's Ms. Linenthal again. Gosh, the agreement bridge sounds great. Ms. Linenthal, I think you got a problem there with stuttering. You're right, Coach. Thanks for fixing that. Gosh, the agreement bridge sounds great, but how could I get a professional development credit for this broadcast and a copy of these slides? Well, Ms. Linenthal, go to wholebrainteaching.com.